This video brought to you in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. This exciting and heartwarming coming-of-age Gen X novel is available now. Check the link for more info. The Atari Gamestation Plus has finally been unveiled at CES 2023. That, alongside two other collaborative offerings between My Arcade and Atari, which include a pocket player and a micro player. Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I am John. Thank you so much for the click. Just yesterday, I shared with you a video showing what My Arcade was unveiling at CES 2023 on day one of the show. And I promised you that once I had more details, because what I had were just images and no details, I promised you when I had more details, I would be back with an updated video telling you everything we know so far about all of these devices, including the Atari Gamestation Plus. Now, I've got to throw out this quick caveat that everything I'm going to share with you is accurate to the best of my knowledge. But even on the booth, My Arcade is saying anything here is subject to change. These are pre-release models and that kind of thing. So what I share with you, don't take it as gospel, but it's the best we know so far, and probably, odds are, because they're on the floor, pretty doggone accurate. I also want to mention that all the images I'm going to show you here were either those released by Atari and My Arcade themselves or provided by Eden A GenXGrownUp viewer who was there in Las Vegas at the booth and took dozens of photos, snapped them, sent to me on Facebook, and also sent me even more in my email inbox. So thanks so much to Eden for so much of this. And if I sprinkled any other images in there that I got from someone else and didn't credit you, I'm sorry. I lost track of all the images I was scraping, but likely it came from one of the great people over on one of the Facebook groups that GenXGrownUp is a member of and that we frequent quite regularly. Okay, let's jump in then real quickly. Probably the simplest one again is this pocket player. And just as we surmised yesterday, this Atari video computer system pocket player is the same kind of size and build as the previous pocket players we have seen. It's the same 2.75-inch screen, has that same circular D-pad and those two little kind of translucent buttons on there. I also noticed at the bottom on the publicity image, it looks like it has a USB-C charging port or power port if you don't want to use batteries. So I don't recall them having that. I think it was, I think it would have been micro USB before, but I love that everybody's going to USB-C. Anyway, I guessed yesterday, and it's been verified, that this is strictly Atari 2600 emulation. And also, there's been a verification that there is no SD card slot, which means no expansion. So it's going to have the games that it has. I haven't seen a full game list, but I have seen video of someone like flipping through page after page after page. So I would guess it's going to have roughly the same game distribution that we'll see on the micro player that we're going to talk about in just a second. Since this is a 2600 console emulation device, one thing that I'm very curious about, okay, no SD slot, that's a miss, that's too bad. I'm very curious about advanced features that we've seen on other handhelds like this, like save states. Is it going to have rewind, that kind of thing? As for pricing, the word I heard was standard pricing, and so if that follows with other pocket players, I think you're looking at probably a $35 price point for this Atari video computer system pocket player. Okay, let's move along then to the micro player. Now, I had theorized yesterday that this was going to be one of the larger size, not a standard micro player, but it just kind of, that's how the artwork looked. That's not the case. Instead, what you have here is a standard edition micro player that we've seen used to run for $25 back in the day. These days, they run for a little bit more. But like the pocket player, this micro player is strictly Atari 2600 emulation. Nothing else there. I do want to point out that they've replaced the bat top joystick that's screwed into the D-pad. That's gone. That's been verified here. Also, no SD slot for a continuing theme. So I guess, you know, for now, my dream of My Arcade and Atari getting together and putting out micro players of Atari arcade games, I guess that's going to be on hold for a bit. Maybe it's going to depend on how well these do, or they determine to put out some more. You can see from this image on the back of the box that they advertise 80 plus 2600 games. And I'm guessing that's probably the same number we're liable to see on the pocket player, though I haven't seen a number. Again, no word on whether there's any advanced features like rewind or pause, save states, things like that. Now, the micro player that showed up on the floor, completely different from the micro player that I had in pre-release publicity photos the other day. The image I had showed 3 buttons, and in fact there were only 2 buttons. And now down on the front of the knee board of this arcade machine is the power switch is back to being a coin door. I mean, first of all, why are we putting Atari 2600 games on an arcade machine toy. That seems like a weird fit. And then you're putting a coin door on the front. There's no coin door on an Atari VCS. I mean, I don't know. It's a little disappointing. I'd really hope this would be a line of micro players with these arcade titles, as I said. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. As for pricing, again, nothing has been set in stone, but I've heard the standard pricing model. Micro players used to go for about $25. Lately, when you start putting them out with hundreds of games, they're bumping it up about $5-10. So I would guess this is going to hit the $30-35 mark. That's my best estimated guess. Okay, the reason you clicked on this video likely is to learn more about the star of the show, which is this Atari Gamestation Plus. So take a look. Having those early peaks at this console ahead of time is a double-edged sword. It definitely ramped up anticipation amongst, fans like us, but it also means that we started inserting our dreams into what we thought this might be. And, odds are if you make up your dream console, when you find out what it actually is, you might be a little disappointed. So I'll leave you up to be the judge of whether or not you're happy with or disappointed with the offering here, but the Atari Gamestation Plus is effectively a beautiful, high-quality plug-and-play with some gorgeous controllers. It is a console, but it's not like I was thinking maybe they're going to enter the Evercade market, with some cartridges and stuff. It doesn't seem so. I haven't seen any mention of any cartridges. It appears to be baked in games that you get, and that's what you get. There's no connectivity that I know of. Don't have confirmation of an SD slot, but based on the other two, I'm going to guess probably not. I don't know. So what we do know for sure, this was verified by Atari themselves and further verified by some of the images you'll see here in a second. This contains Atari arcade games, Atari 2600 games, and Atari 7800 games. There's no 5200, no Jaguar, no Lynx, no Atari 8-bit, none of that stuff we got samplings of in the Atari 50th anniversary celebration. This is just a My Arcade made Atari plug and play, effectively. Also, you'll notice on the box art, it highlights some of the games they call out as being great Atari games, things like Centipede and Missile Command and Warlords. These are all trackball and spinner games. Again, this is a joystick. Now, I don't know yet whether or not the joystick has any sort of spinner functionality like the VCS's classic controller does, but I'm guessing because there's a C trigger on the back of it that wouldn't make sense to rotate the stick all the way around and lose access to the C button. So I'm guessing it doesn't. So it's going to come down to the emulation to be able to translate stick movements accurately and effectively into spinner and trackball movements. It's always been a challenge with emulation. You can fix it on a PC with a mouse, but in this case, you're going to get what you're going to get. So we'll see. Beyond that, here's a lot more photos that I'm showing you of the box art, the box, the console out of the box. What's really interesting, I found, and I forget where I got this image. I'm sure it's one of my friends on Facebook. I'm sorry I don't have your name here to credit, but here's a picture of the user interface, which shows you can read across the menu there where it says, there's something on the left and it says 2600, 7800, arcade, stuff like that across the top. It's a pretty nice looking interface. Now, I can't say any more about the functionality of this interface. They weren't allowing anyone to touch or play with the unit on the show floor at CES. You had it hooked up to a TV and you could look at it, and it was under glass. So how it works, what functions are in it, any of those things I talked about, like save states or anything like that, especially for console games, would be great. I don't know. There was a lot of speculation about the controllers, and early on people were saying maybe this is going to be a VCS controller, replacement for an alternative to the classic controller. Not the case here. We're hoping maybe it's Bluetooth, and therefore you could pair it with anything. Well, it turns out it's 2.4 gigahertz communication to the control deck, which makes it very fast, which is great, but means it's probably tuned exactly to that console and not usable with other things. But there was verification that you can either put batteries in the controller or you can plug it right into those USB-C ports on the front of the deck. Now, I don't know whether that's power or power and data. If that USB-C is carrying power and data, maybe you could plug this controller into a PC or anything, or a VCS. Don't know yet. So for now, I would say don't count on the controllers being something that you can play with anything else. It might just be specifically for this little console, which would be disappointing because that controller looks pretty sweet. If it handles half as good as it looks, it has those gorgeous little color-changing LEDs in it. I mean, that would be awesome. That would be great. And finally, as for pricing, nothing has been stated. I only heard one rumor that you should take with an enormous grain of salt. I heard the number $159 US bantied about. Now, for what I now know about this Gamestation Plus, that sounds high to me. You know, I'm going to guess something like this. They're probably going to push up around closer to 100. I think $89 is probably a sweet spot for this, which is well, half, probably nearly half of, what I heard rumored. Now, all this is speculation. Don't know for sure. I just want to share with you what I heard. In the absence of information, I can give you rumors. So that's what I've got so far. As I know more, of course, I will share it here. As all these products come in, I will definitely be getting them here on GenXGrownUp and reviewing them. Now, before you go, I have to share with you that in addition to these Atari collaborative devices, there were a lot more products shown on the CES show floor at the My Arcade booth, including what looks to be like the possible return of the premium edition line of microplayers. Now, whether it's named that or not, it appears to be microplayers that have original arcade ROMs in them in slightly redesigned packages. That's something we've been asking for a long time at this price point. So I will be doing another update, another video showing those things very shortly. So be sure you're subscribed and stick around. I'll throw a couple of videos here and here, all related to this story that you can check out as well. I surely hope, though, you found something to enjoy in this video, and I will certainly talk to you next time. Bye-bye.